Hello and welcome back to a new video. Since in the last video I did the electronics upgrade for my CNC, I've been able to experiment with probing in Mach3. And since it's been so great for me, I thought I'm gonna show you how it's done, because it's pretty simple, but you need to know a few tricks. So if you're interested in that, stick around. So what is probing? Well, probing allows you to find the edge or the origin of a workpiece without having to eyeball it or use the paper scratch method. It works by digitizing a pin on your controller. In my case, it's putting 24 volt into that pin, but it's going to change depending on your controller. And the controller can read that as an input. This also allows you to use multiple tools in one project without needing to re-zero the tool every time, because the surface might already be machined away, and then what are you going to do? So I'm going to show you how to use one of those probing plates and how to use a tool offset length sensor. Tool length offset sensor, one of those. I'm going to show you how to use it. So here you can see the setup. I got the tool length sensor bolted to the table, so it's always in the same position, and it is isolated from the machine itself via this plastic block. Since the machine is grounded and the tool is grounded, I wouldn't be able to make, the connection would always be made if this was directly touching the table, obviously. And for the same reason, I can't just probe the edge of this plate. I need to have this, let's call it adapter plate, that has plastic inserted in the bottom, and I know these dimensions, and the thickness, so I can insert that later into the program. As a probe, I am using a ground shaft right now. This is 4 millimeters. This is totally precision and not just an end mill I broke. But yeah, I mean, this is not super mega duper high precision, so that will just do fine. Now, these are the two wires that's coming from my controller up there. You can't see that right now. One needs to go to ground or to the machine, so I can just hook that up to a screw basically, like up here. And one goes, in this case, to this plate right here, and I can hook that over here. You see, it's got the corners bared out, cut out, so it fits over here perfectly. So the next step is to jog the probe just over the corner of this plate. Just about here. And then in Mach3, you want to open Wizzard, pick Wizzard, and then choose Probe Wizzard. This is super easy to install. It's just dragging a few files into folders, and I'm going to link down below how you can do that. It's super easy. Also, I'm going to link the plugin for this Xbox controller motion thingy, because it's amazing and really handy. And that's how it looks like. There are a few settings here that you need to figure out, but for now you can just copy mine basically. The only important one is this one right here. That is the diameter of the tip, and since I'm using 4 millimeters, I put in 4 millimeters. Then over here is a feed rate that is going to use. I'm just going to put in 500. This is the search feed rate, and then it's going to debounce and use a finer feed rate to find the center again, the edge again. So these settings work pretty good for me. Now what you can do, you see this light right here, you can check your probe. So if I touch this, yeah, the light probe active appears. So I'm going to reconnect that, and then with that in place, I'm just going to push it down so it's nice and tight. I can hit find this corner, and you can see it moving. I have it set to auto 0 XY, so after it does its thing, it's gonna put X and Y 0 over this corner, and afterwards I can input the offsets. See, there it does the debounce and comes in at 10 millimeters per minute. Goes over to the other side, a bit further this time. That is this value, by the way, 30 millimeters. And does it again. Once, backs up a millimeter. This is that value here, how much it backs up. And then with 10 millimeters per minute, comes in to check again. You can see that it should position itself right above the corner now. And you have x0 and y0. Next step is to find z0. So we go a bit over here. It's still everything connected, and we press this button right here. Perfect. You can see it's now 1.653 millimeters above the surface, and yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So another thing you can do with probing, which is great, is, let me just get this off. This vise might not be perfectly parallel to these rails up here. So what you can do is you can probe the edge and find out the angle that it's misaligned by. So the procedure is pretty much the same. You move it close to the edge, down, and then you can press this button right here. And I'm going to put in auto rotate. It's a bit buggy in my end. I don't quite know why. And since I want to find this edge, press that. Okay, so you can see I was off at 0.149 millimeter, and it actually put it in, but since Mach3 rounds down, it just says 0 degrees. But that's just a handy feature that you should know about. Okay, I'm going to take this away now, and if I exit, oops, I can go to 0. So what you're going to notice is that this 0 is obviously not this corner, and that is because it used this corner right here. But I know this is 10 millimeters, this is 10 millimeters, and this is 8 millimeters, or 7.95. So I can input that into Mach3. And if I go to 0 now, perfectly on the corner. You're going to call the probe our tool 0. And what you're going to do now is move over to the tool length finder, that is over here. Oh my light just dropped. Give me a second. Okay, move the tool over to this point. Just, a few millimeters above the surface. And then what you need to do in Mach3, there's this button right here that says Auto Tool 0. But the script on there did not work out too well for me. So you can push Operator, Edit Button Script. It's going to start blinking, and then you press that, and the script appears. Now I'm going to link the script I used down below. You basically just input that, save it with this button right here, and close it. Yes. No, I don't know. And then hit, oh wait, obviously connect your probe pin, because that would be silly. Whoop. Did you zero off the part first? Yes, I did. It's going to ask that just for tool 0. Alright, so we got that position saved. So since I want to demonstrate to you how well that works and how useful it is, I have prepared this block actually for a little project. So I'm going to use 4 different tools: 6mm flat, 3mm flat, a 6mm 45-degree chamfer bit, and a 1mm ball point end mill to machine a little test piece. And afterwards we can check together how well the tool path aligned. I actually didn't do this yet, so we're going to find out together. So let me change this tool, and I'm going to show you how to proceed afterwards. Remember, this tool is now tool 0, so we're going to change to tool 1 now. It doesn't matter what tool is which, just that you do it in the right order. Okay, as you can see, I changed the tool. This is a 6mm carbide, some amount of coating on it, end mill. And once again, oh wait, you can see in Mach3 I'm going to change now tool to tool 1, enter. And it's important that these values are at 0. I'm going to jog down slightly above the surface. Not going to forget to connect my probe pins. And I'm going to hit Auto Tool 0 again. Now, if I just jog up a bit, just so I'm above the Z0 point, go to 0. It is still okay above that point. Maybe I didn't. Should have been more careful with the Z value I put in. Remember how I put in 7.95? Probably should have put that in closer. Probably was 7.9 or something. Not quite sure. But yeah, it's pretty much in the same space, and that's going to be in the same spot every time now. So I'm going to start this toolpath, and then I'm going to meet you back when I change to the second tool, or third tool already, including the probe. Okay, so that was the first pass with the first tool. We roughed out the dome. There's a tiny step here that if I had a taller piece of aluminum that would have been more pronounced, but it's working out, it's visible. It is cutting corners for some reason. I think I have some settings from the motor tunings wrong in Mach3. But that's my problem. That has nothing to do with the tool, with the probing. So let me swap out to tool number 2, and I'll meet you right back. Alright, tool number 2 is in, and as you probably guessed, we'll repeat the process. Okay, in Mach3, change to tool 2, and auto tool again. Up, going to 0, and ideally that's going to be the same spot. No real reason, no real way to figure it out without running a program, so I'm going to do just that. That looks pretty much alright. As I said, these corners are cut for some reason. I think my motor didn't stop fast enough or start fast enough, and Mach3 kinda didn't care. So I'm gonna have to tweak some settings there. But the probing worked so far. So I'm gonna swap out to a 3mm flat bit so I can get in those tiny corners that are just there, so I have a reason to use a 3mm. And we're gonna repeat the process. God damn. 3mm tool is installed, so go to tool number 3 now, auto tool 0, let it do its thing, and then cut the next pass. So that went pretty well. And for the last pass I'm going to use this 2mm ball nose end mill. I know I said 1mm earlier, but it turns out I don't have one right now. But the result's going to be the same. If the probe doesn't get it right and it crashes into the floor just by a millimeter, it's going to break. So swap it out. I'm going to have to go upstairs and recompile some G-code with the new tool diameter. But then we can hit run and see that hopefully take a bit more shape. Tiny end mill installed, probe is ready. Go last tool, tool 4, auto tool 0. Now go above that 0 so we don't crash the end mill. Load new G-code and go. And this is the finished part. as you can hopefully see, there right here is the line where the 3mm bit and the 8mm bit met, and there is a tiny step there that you can barely feel, but I'm gonna argue that that is a lot better than you could do by hand or with a paper. Around the corner is that problem that I talked about, which I think is, it's still my problem. I still haven't configured this controller perfectly, but that has nothing to do with the probing. The part on top actually came out pretty nice. That toolpath is great. I'm going to link down the file to this in the descriptions below if you want to have a look at my feeds and speeds and the toolpaths. And here, because I had the 2mm and the 3mm bit also go over here, you can see that they didn't make a scratch, so they were perfectly flush with that part. And yes, so I think that's a success, and I hope you can take something away from that. If you have any more questions, don't be afraid to ask me down below in the comments. I'm always happy to help. I'm going to link all the resources, all the scripts and the Wizzard and how to install them down in the notes below. Please consider subscribing or liking this video. Until the next time, have a great day.